It's no secret that I grew up with a Nintendo 64 and some of the best collectathons of all time. The late 90s and early 2000s were the golden years of the genre. N64 wasn't the only console around that time to have some great collectathon platformers, though one could argue the best ones were on that console. I always see lots of tier lists from other YouTubers about levels from specific games, but today, I don't want to do that. Today, I want to share some of what I believe are the best levels of all time within the platformer collectathon genre, then analyze them and discuss what elements I believe make them great, and specifically highlight an element from each level that I believe particularly shines and is important in good level design in this genre, and take a further look at some more levels that personify these traits. But before we get into it, I want to make some rules for this video. I specifically will be sticking to the 3D platforming collectathon genre as defined with games like Mario 64 or Banjo. I am not diving into 2D games or games that have platforming elements but are ultimately a different style of game. Even though there are some great games with amazing level design, I want the levels to be open-ended ones you have to explore to find items, so I won't have any levels focusing on a linear design. And while this is a video that highlights my opinions, I'll try not to use levels that I like that many others seemingly don't. A level like Pterodactyland in Banjo Tooie, for example, has a mixed reception amongst the community. So all the levels I pick will be levels I not only like, but that generally receive appreciation from the general public. And the final rule, I also don't just want to highlight one series or game over and over. I'm going to pick a few different games in the genre, so this list isn't just Banjo over and over because it very well could have been. Life is like a box of chocolates, and even though I could eat mint chocolates all day, it's nice to have a couple caramel-filled ones as well. That was a terrible analogy, but anyways, with these rules established, we can get into the video, right after I share with you some dope info about FiGGYZ. FiGGYZ are a new line of affordable collectibles from First for Figures. They're magnetic pixel art figures of your favorite characters from series you love that come with their own special backdrop and stand. They look good on a shelf, and since they're magnetic, you can stick them pretty much wherever you want. There may even be a special rear backplate in yours. Go check out FiGGYZ and drop an order today using my code JiggyFiggy at checkout for an exclusive discount. Go find the characters you love and start collecting. More info in the description below. Now back to the video. I think I'll start with the first game I ever owned, Donkey Kong 64. I feel like this game and its level design is a bit of a mixed bag in general, especially amongst the community. When it shines though, I believe it shines brightly. Whether you like collectibles or not, it has some pretty memorable stages. For me though, I have two particular standouts from DK64 I enjoy for some similar reasons, but I believe they shine for two different reasons. Starting with Jungle Japes, a throwback to the country series Jungle Hijinks, and both updates the theme track and brings DK's world into 3D very nicely. This level features some moody dark caves, some special minecart areas, and has a wide open jungle vibe with plenty of trees to climb. Why don't we break down the areas of this level? We have the initial walkway from the entry portal that leads to our first moody cave. You have the middle area, which is large and expansive. This leads to several sections. You can enter one of the caves on the side to reach the area with the shell. The cave toward the middle, or on the right, gets to Cranky's lab and an area with the Rambi transformation. And then at the tippy top, you have the mountain you can enter in and get a mineshaft area with a minecart ride at the end. So there are basically 5 main sections to this level with a few smaller spaces to explore to boot. The elements I believe that make this area in particular special can be summed up in a few ideas here. The overall aesthetic of the level is cohesive in concept. It's a jungle with bright saturated colors, but dark and moody caves, giving it a distinct feel. The use of specific objects providing a landmark for each section, like Cranky's lab with the Rambi transformation, the brown mountain, and the big shell. All of these provide a substantial way to remember where a particular area or NPC is to interact with. The music is phenomenally done, a great callback to DK Country 1 while still feeling fresh. The track loops forever and you never get tired of it. It just feels right. And the transitions to alternate tunes as you go into the cave or underwater provide some texture to it all. This one has some in-world events that also add to it and feel properly built in. The minecart ride being the peak example, but even the section with Rambi sets a tone, having multiple naughties to smash, including a giant one. I think the most important element here in this particular level though is the overall aesthetic and tone. It not only is a cool jungle theme with moody caves, but a perfect callback to DK Country. This particular level is memorable for not only nostalgia, but also for its consistent tone across its sections. Moving on to the next level from this title, Creepy Castle. This level often makes people's top tier list for levels from DK64, and for good reason. Even my own 6-year-old nephew was recalling Creepy Castle as one of his favorite levels he tried months after he played the game for the first time. There's something about it. Let's start by breaking it up into pieces. You have the first area outside of the portal that leads to the big tree. The section wraps around Creepy Castle as the outer wall. The big tree itself can be entered in and has stuff to see. The next section, as you scale up the side, has bridges and a pathway that leads up the side of Creepy Castle, and you can navigate to the very top here if you keep going. Along the way, you can see many rooms to enter, like the inside of the tool shed, greenhouse, as well as a few smaller rooms too. Then you have the Creepy Castle itself that has many doorways leading into it. The significant areas inside are the crypts, which have another minecart ride against the giant resident demon, the museum, the library, the ballroom, and the bottom dungeon with a basement. So this one is packed denser than Jungle Japes, and rightfully so, as this is a later level in the game. Now, what makes this specific level special? Again, it has a vibe and cohesive aesthetic. Every part of this level feels like it belongs and is much darker in tone in contrast to Jungle Japes. The enemies here are also themed like the level, which adds to the cohesion. The music here is also very iconic and consistently carries the tone it wants to convey, as well as creepy sound effects in the background, and variation and transitions to other tunes as you enter specific areas. One thing that makes this level special over Jungle Japes is the sheer amount of rooms and sense of exploration. This level is larger than Jungle Japes, as it's basically as large, but also adds verticality, which is something that makes this particular level a bit more unique. Scaling up the castle offers way more to explore and a bit more intensity as you risk falling. Though I would argue that landmarks in this level aren't as memorable in their placement as Jungle Japes, mostly due to this level being so huge and having doorways leading to different places. But having sheer volume of interesting rooms to find is a fun treat in and of itself, and I feel if I had to title this specific element, I would have it be Exploration and Discovery. Now let's move past DK64 and onto another 64. Mario 64 to be exact. This game is early 3D platforming, but it certainly has some iconic levels. This game is probably one of the most dissected of all time, and a lot of lists have been made of people ranking the levels from it. Whereas DK64 I feel was about the vibe and cohesion in its level design choices, I can't help but feel Mario 64 takes a different approach. Mario 64 has worlds that are almost pieced together elements and ideas that make little sense on paper. It was all about the gameplay mechanics with every choice they made, as opposed to building one big cohesive world. Take for example Whomp's Fortress. How many elements here actually make sense? It's got an initial starting area with a garden, sort of a concrete base with some ramps and steps to climb, a tower on the very top, and some random floating platforms. I'm not saying it doesn't aesthetically work, because I guess it does, but compared to the intense detail and focus on the environment from a game like DK64, how can this even be in the ballpark of good levels? But it is. So there's something key at work here. And I believe the key is the complementary choices based on Mario's movement. It perfectly encapsulates all of the gameplay mechanics and requires every single one of them. You'll be running, jumping, climbing, and sliding all throughout this level in some capacity. While I don't think there's much in the exploration department, as there are no rooms to enter or secret tunnels to explore, the pure desire to run through this level and jump around as fast as you can is there. And the music, while it's good, it's actually a repeat of the level prior to it and gets repeated again in the game. I think the element at play in this level that truly makes it shine is probably summed up as moveset mindfulness. It truly takes advantage of all of Mario's mechanics and is a joy to run through. It's almost similar to a sandbox concept more so than I think any other level in Mario, and it also happens to be one of the weakest themes of a level in Mario 64. But in my opinion, one of the greatest levels from this iconic game is the very first one you get into, Bob-omb Battlefield. As I apparently decided we're doing for each level, we'll divide it into sections. The opening area with the bridge to cross, the section with Chain Chomp, the wider area just after with Flower Patches, the mountain and its pathway, then the floating section just off the side of the mountain. The music, as I stated, is good here. It certainly feels way more impactful in this level than any other level it's used. Bob-omb Battlefield also offers a better cohesive theme, as it's a war going on with cannons everywhere. What is it about this level in particular do you think that I love? To be honest, it's a very well-balanced level across the board, and as it should be, as it's our first level and competently teaches you a lot of things about the game. The best thing it does though? The thoughtful layout of collectibles. This is obviously a very important aspect to the collectathon genre, and one that isn't always done particularly well. But this level really does it right. Not only does it lay them all out strategically across the level, it also teaches us what they are at the same time. We can receive coins from breaking the boxes, going under the bridge, or encountering a Goomba right at the start. Especially with the case of the Goomba, we could take a hit potentially and realize that coins restore our health. We see a red coin at the start, and once we collect it, there's a number that indicates we need to collect a certain amount, and we can see a star toward the beginning as a goal to acquire. As we explore the level, you'll also notice how coins and various things entice you to go down pathways maybe you wouldn't have done before. It's an important part of level design in these games, and this level does it really, really well. Moving past Mario 64, why don't we jump into Banjo Kazooie? I love almost every level in Banjo Kazooie, the attention to detail, the charm, it's off the charts in this one. My personal favorite though, Treasure Trove Cove. Another really awesome balanced level that addresses several of the elements we've laid out so far. As do most Banjo levels, I might add. The level starts off with the entrance just above the water. To the left we have Nipper, a sort of level mini-boss. In the middle we have Blubber and his ship. To the right the sandcastle. On the top we have the lighthouse, and then two back areas. One on the left with pools of water, and the other with towers for treasure hunting along the beach. So many fantastic elements in this level as well. The aesthetic, the charm, the recognizable landmarks for navigation. But where does this one shine? Good music and sound design. Don't get me wrong, there are plenty of bangin' tunes in Banjo Kazooie alone, but the reason I highlight this is actually because not only is the theme an absolute bop, but the sound design choices are also top tier. You'll hear that tropical xylophone and steel drum, but at the same time, the snap of the clam enemies as they close in on you. And let's not forget the transitional tunes in alternate versions like Going Underwater, or the feeling of dread when you hop in the water for the first time as a child and hear the Jaws-like tune as Snacker the shark charges after you, chomping and splashing away. It's all of these that work together in cohesion that give you these feelings. Another level in Banjo Kazooie I think exemplifies a specific characteristic. Freezeezy Peak may be one of the most talked about levels from Banjo Kazooie. You can find it at the top of most tier lists as one, if not the best level from the game. What is it about this level? It has so many good qualities, good music, fun NPCs, decent collectible layout, but here's where it shines. You may have noticed we haven't broken it into sections yet, and that's because this level shines in memorable landmarks and areas. The whole level is filled with some of the most recognizable and easily identifiable landmarks. Even starting off, we're hit with Boggy's Igloo, and follow that up with a pathway leading to the biggest one of all, the giant snowman in the middle. Then everything is centered around the snowman. We have the Christmas tree and the Twinklies, the present area with a flight pad, Waz's cave, Mumbo's hut, and a small set of houses. Not to mention we do at one point ride around this level on a sled and on foot, getting a chance to view everything. It's such a breeze to navigate through, though still having its own set of challenges. You remember every landmark and its relation to the other fairly easy. Moving on to the sequel of Kazooie, Banjo Tooie. Banjo Tooie also has a lot of beloved worlds to get into. Although it rides the same highs sometimes its predecessor does, it also rides some lower lows. Two of the top levels that I always see, and include my own opinion, seem to be Witchyworld and Hailfire Peaks. Both of these levels are incredible. Hailfire Peaks happens to be my favorite, so we're going to look at that one first. Hailfire Peaks is epic from the initial startup. Huge brass tunes fill this lava world, and as we transition to the icy side, everything becomes a bit more delicate. It's got tons to explore, and honestly, dividing it up, we have on the lava side, the entrance with Saberman's tent, the Coliseum we can scale and go into on the right, Mumbo's side on the left, and various points to get inside the volcano, one including the train station, and we can scale up to the top. The icy side also has a ton of sections itself with its own train station, the Icicle Grotto, the Mining Zone, a new version of Boggy's Igloo, Humble Wumba's Wigwam, and we can also scale to the top. So what makes this level shine? I actually would say it's the main collectibles in this level that shine, or rather, it has creative missions. Banjo-Kazooie itself set a new tone for the main collectibles. In Mario 64, you select the missions, and once you completed one, you'd be booted out of the level and have to re-enter to collect another. Oftentimes, the world would change when you selected a different mission. Kazooie allowed you to stay within the level and keep collecting, and everything was accessible from the beginning. Tooie is a bit unique in, while you still stay in the level, you can actually change things within the level by going to other levels and performing certain actions. Hailfire Peaks reaps some really cool benefits from that concept. Notably, like if you help the aliens in Atlantis, you'll actually see them again in Hailfire Peaks and have to rescue their children. And if you rescue Gobi from Witchyworld, he shows up in the lava side and can be used to cool the train off to acquire a Jiggy on the icy side of the train station. There's also the fact you use two separate transformations in this level. You can directly navigate to the Coliseum for Mayhem Temple as the Stony transformation and play more kickball games. And then you have the Snowball on the icy side. Not to mention you have two bosses, 1 ice dragon, and 1 fire. There are a lot of unique and awesome ways to get jiggies in this level, and I think it certainly has some of the more interesting ones. And speaking of interesting, what about Witchyworld? Witchyworld is broken up easily into carnival attractions. The entrance area with Area 51 to the right, the big tent in the middle, Saucer of Peril to the left, Crazy Castle to the right, and the Inferno to the back. The simple fact this level has quite a bit of gameplay variety is why I think it shines. Having minigames is not mandatory, but they can be a nice change of pace, and this level certainly has some of the better ones. The Saucer of Peril, flying through the sky hitting targets, the Cactus of Strength where we have to cleverly smash the bottom platform, Crazy Castle Hoops Challenge, moving fast to rack up points, the Dodge'em Dome where we have to collect Twinklies. The list goes on a bit more. It's just so many different things to do, it shines for sheer volume. And in addition, it also has one of the better and unique boss fights in the game. The Mr. Patch fight deserves to be highlighted, and the character's design is incredible. All of these different minigames offer so much variety and a nice change of pace, so why don't we change pace by looking at another series, Conker's Bad Fur Day. I had some deliberation here on what level to look at. I was mostly between Barn Boys and Spooky myself, so I actually asked some of my community, and the results? Sorta between my thoughts. I saw a lot for Barn Boys, some for Ooga Booga, and quite a few for Spooky as well. But I think at the end of the day, Barn Boys is the level I'd look at a bit more for the element I specifically want to look at it for. While Spooky is certainly fun, Barn Boys is a bit more memorable, and for good reason. The level is broken up into the entrance area, the sunflower area, the cheese ranch, the top of the barn, and inside the barn. It's not a massive level, but what it does have, interesting NPCs. This doesn't sound like a big deal for level design, huh? Well, think about being in the level like Bob-omb Battlefield and there aren't any Bob-ombs. Or maybe not having Boggy in Freezeezy Peak. Barn Boys has so many ridiculously over-the-top NPCs here, from the Bee King, looking to get lucky with the big-breasted sunflower, and the paint can and brush Reg and Ron talking smack, and our bestest pal in the world, Frankie. Even the mouse and the big block dudes, and ultimately the Haybot, as well as some of the smaller ones to fill the world out. One of the things I always loved about Rare games is their cartoony approach and putting eyeballs in everything and making it a character. Well, Conker is that to the extreme. So for unique and interesting NPCs, I def give it to Conker. So currently we have 9 big things that make a 3D Collect-a-thon level great. Why don't we make it an even 10? And for that, let's visit a series not on the N64, shall we? Spyro the Dragon is a series that had its start on PlayStation and attempted to deliver that oh-so-popular platforming collect-a-thon on Sony's console, and it delivered. The game excels in so many ways, and level design is one of them. The thing about Spyro, I asked my community what levels they loved from this game and got a bunch of different responses, with a few standouts like Dark Hollow and Lofty Castle being mentioned. But how I want to go about Spyro is slightly different. The Artisans Home, which is essentially the hub world, introducing the first couple levels, shows what makes Spyro great. It not only complements Spyro's moveset and gives us a bunch of stuff to collect and enemies to fight, but it gives us an important element: freedom of choice. Arguably, Spyro does this more than any other game here, mostly due to your moveset, but the game itself is designed around it. It's not very linear. You can collect the dragons basically in whatever order you want. Mostly you'll want to do the easy ones and go fast, but certainly you can do things like climb up to a high place and glide down somewhere to get a dragon, which may not be the way that it was intended and planned out for you to get there, but often you can. It's the result of having larger, more open style worlds and a moveset that makes you fast and able to maneuver around. We see this particular style in more modern platformer entries like Mario Odyssey, Clive and Wrench, or the newly released Donkey Kong Bonanza. When you have the freedom of choice in how you want to tackle a level, it really opens things up, and then at that point it's just about how fast you can make it happen. Now, looking at all of the points I brought up, we can see the building blocks to a great collect-a-thon level. To summarize, here are the Jiggy Look Back Good level design principles. Aesthetic and tone. Find a theme and aesthetic that you can embrace that is unique in atmosphere and tone. Exploration and discovery. Add a few secret areas that reward the player for finding them. Moveset mindfulness. Make sure that the obstacles and goals in your level complement the moveset of your character, allowing you to collect things quickly if desired. Thoughtful layout of collectibles. Use the collectibles as a guidepost to suggest to players where things are, as well as areas they haven't been to yet. Good music and sound. This may come down to personal taste, but capturing the tone of the level is important in its music, and it's equally important to keep that tone amongst the sound design in general. Nothing too distracting, and nothing that sounds completely out of left field. Having a specific sound font is always great for cohesion throughout many levels. memorable landmarks and areas. You'll want to create some sort of central landmark in it for easy navigation. Add key points at the end of paths branching out of that central spot. I'd argue if you feel like you need a minimap, your landmarks aren't memorable enough, or your level is way too big. So maybe consider scaling back. Creative missions. The goal of your platformer is collecting. The missions for collecting need to be engaging and fun. Basically, if it feels like a slog, it's probably a slog. Sometimes it's good to have more collectibles than needed to beat a game so that people don't feel they need to acquire everything to finish it. Let them do it their way, and the diehards will go for 100%. Gameplay variety. Offer different ways to play, but don't let them overstay their welcome. Minigames are great, but things like sliding in Rayman 2, for example, offer small segments that change it up to keep things fresh. Interesting NPCs. Populate your level with NPCs that have as much thought to them as your main character. And it's always good that they match the aesthetic of whatever level they're in. And freedom of choice. It's great to have multiple ways players can acquire certain items. Sure, you may have in your head they go from point A to B, but what if they fly down from B to C? Keep that in the back of your mind as you design. There are so many platform levels out there and lots of variety. To be honest, there are some that exemplify some of these characteristics at a high level, but then they fall short in another. It's the combination and balance of all of these that make for a great level. The question is, what's the best of the best? Well, I can tell you right now, the best level design in a 3D Collect-a-thon, hands down, it goes to Banjo Kazooie. Every single level is what I'd consider good to great across the board. There is no bad level, and they follow a lot of these principles, but the overall balance between the elements is what makes them good. My only real complaint about Kazooie's design is near 100% completion requirements for beating the game properly, though the levels aren't ginormous, so it isn't as bad. The levels I think that most personify these traits from Banjo Kazooie though, Freezeezy Peak and Treasure Trove Cove, obviously as I mentioned before, but also Mad Monster Mansion and Click Clock Wood. A few other standouts in other series that I love, Bianca Hills in Super Mario Sunshine, New Donk City from Super Mario Odyssey, Tribal Stack Tropics, Ukulele, Mafia Town, A Hat in Time. Well, that's what I think makes for a good 3D Collect-a-thon level. I hope you guys get a takeaway from this, and maybe keep these principles in mind as you play games and see what you like. Well guys, that's all I have for you. I hope you'll drop a like in this video to help spread my content around, and subscribe so you don't miss a future upload. And maybe, just maybe, you'll see a bit more of my take on a 3D platformer Collect-a-thon soon. So stay tuned. Until next time, have a good one.
Check you up!